Parents love their children unconditionally, always willing to sacrifice their time, resources, and dreams to provide a better future for their offspring. They make long-term plans, sometimes even before their children are born, hoping to pave the way for a life filled with comfort, success, and happiness. As the saying goes, of all virtues, filial piety is foremost. This ancient principle highlights the fundamental duty of children to respect, honor, and care for their parents, particularly as they age. Filial piety is not just a cultural tradition but a cornerstone of a harmonious family life. However, this sacred bond is increasingly threatened by a new form of dependency that quietly undermines the mutual respect and support between parents and children. In the past, the idea of parasitic behavior, children depending excessively on their parents well into adulthood, was widely frowned upon. Young people were often ashamed of being labeled as parasitic, striving instead for independence and self-reliance. They didn't want to be seen as burdens on their parents, preferring to stand on their own 2 feet. However, as society has evolved, a new form of this parasitic behavior has emerged. It is more subtle and insidious, much like termites silently gnawing away at a structure from within, eroding both the material and emotional resources of parents. The most concerning part is that many parents are completely unaware of this erosion, believing they are simply fulfilling their role as caregivers. If your family exhibits any of the following signs, it's a wake-up call to address this behavior before it damages the harmony and respect within your relationship. Have you ever heard of delayed employment? It's a phenomenon where fresh graduates, instead of immediately entering the job market, decide to spend additional years preparing for further exams, such as graduate school entrance tests, civil service qualifications, or teaching certifications. While on the surface, this appears to be a commendable pursuit of a better future, it often masks a deeper issue. The pressure to find a job right after graduation can indeed be overwhelming, especially in today's competitive world. But the ability to delay employment largely depends on a solid financial foundation, a foundation usually provided by the parents. This situation becomes problematic when it stretches indefinitely, transforming from a temporary solution into a permanent state of dependency. Let's look at a real-life example for my cousin. After graduating from college, she decided to take the entrance exam for graduate school. The first year, she failed. Disappointed but determined, she convinced her mother to let her try again. During this period, her mother, my aunt, covered all her living expenses. To create an ideal study environment, my cousin complained that the family home was too noisy, prompting my aunt to rent a quiet apartment for her. When my cousin's grades in English and math proved insufficient, my aunt paid over 6,000 yuan for specialized tutoring classes. Beyond this, there were expenses for exam preparation materials, professional books, registration fees, and even hotel stays during the exams, totaling tens of thousands of yuan. Despite all these efforts and investments, she still didn't pass the exam the second year. Concerned about her future, my aunt advised her to find a job. Reluctantly, my cousin did, but after only 3 months, she quit, citing difficulties with her boss's attitude and expressing a desire to focus solely on the exam. Again, my aunt had no choice but to continue supporting her financially. In the third year, she failed once more. Despite everyone urging her to stop and find stable employment, she refused, unwilling to enter the workforce. I once heard a saying, sometimes we pursue something not out of love for it, but because we are avoiding something else. In my cousin's case, her so-called passion for graduate school was nothing more than a facade to avoid the responsibilities and pressures of the working world. During crucial study periods, she would spend time playing video games, watching movies, or scrolling through social media apps. Clearly, her true motivation wasn't to pursue higher education, but to delay entering the adult world where she would be accountable for her own livelihood. Now, pursuing dreams and higher education is admirable, but using it as an excuse to avoid work and expecting parents to foot the bill crosses a line. Each adult has the right to decide their life path, whether to work, study, or pursue a different career. However, it becomes an issue when these choices impose a financial burden on parents who are trying to support their child's future. Avoidance solves nothing and often complicates matters, adding stress and uncertainty to the family dynamic. It's time for those caught in this cycle to face life head-on, to grow up, and to step out of the protective shadow of their parents. In today's fast-paced world, entrepreneurship is often glorified as the ultimate path to success. It's no longer just about finding a job, it's about creating something of your own, building a legacy, and achieving the coveted financial freedom. Many motivational speakers, self-help books, and online courses promote the idea that starting a business is the best way to control your destiny. While this spirit of entrepreneurship can be admirable, it also comes with its fair share of risks and challenges that are often overlooked, especially by those who romanticize the journey. The reality is that building a business is tough. It requires not just passion but also resilience, careful planning, and a substantial amount of financial resources. Sadly, some young adults jump into this journey without fully understanding the weight of the responsibility or the consequences of failure. To pursue their entrepreneurial dreams, many turn to the people who have always been there for them, their parents. They present their business ideas with enthusiasm and excitement, highlighting the potential profits and the freedom it promises. Under the guise of entrepreneurship, they ask for financial support, borrowing large sums of money from their parents. Some may even convince their parents to invest their life savings into these ventures, painting a picture of a bright future where everyone will benefit. The parents, motivated by love and a desire to support their child's ambitions, often give in, handing over their savings without hesitation. However, they might not fully grasp the risks involved in these ventures, trusting that their child's passion and determination will be enough to guarantee success. But what happens when the business fails? Inexperience, market competition, poor financial management, there are countless reasons why a business might not succeed. When reality sets in and the venture collapses, the financial burden falls squarely back onto the parents. Many children, unable to handle the pressures of debt, turn to their parents for help once again. It's a heartbreaking cycle, one that drains not just their finances but also their emotional strength. Consider the story I watched on a show called Gold Mediation, where a young man named Xia Jiang pursued entrepreneurship with a burning passion. His mother, Miss Su, wanted to support his dreams. When Xia Jiang approached her with his first business idea, she didn't hesitate. She and her husband gave him all their savings, hoping that this investment would set him up for a prosperous future. However, due to his inexperience and lack of business acumen, the venture failed, leaving him in significant debt. Unable to bear the thought of her son being pursued by debt collectors, Miss Su stepped in to help. She paid off a large portion of his debts, believing that this would be a fresh start for him. She encouraged him to find stable employment and rebuild his life. However, Xia Jiang had other ideas. Driven by the allure of entrepreneurial success, he refused to settle for a regular job. He believed that his next business venture would be the one to change everything. He convinced his mother that he had learned from his mistakes and that this time, success was within reach. Miss Su, out of love and a desire to see her son succeed, reluctantly agreed to support him once more. This time, the stakes were even higher. Under Xia Jiang's relentless persuasion, Miss Su mortgaged their only house to secure a loan of 800,000 yuan, pouring all of it into his new business idea. In Xia Jiang's mind, failure was not an option. However, entrepreneurship and gambling are often just a step apart. The line between taking calculated risks and recklessly chasing success can become blurred, especially when emotions are involved. Unfortunately, Xia Jiang's new venture also failed, leaving the family in a much worse situation than before. Their resources were drained, their home was mortgaged, and their trust was shattered. Miss Su's story is not unique. Many parents find themselves in similar situations, where their children's dreams and ambitions lead to financial ruin. It's natural for parents to want to support their children's goals, but at what cost? The dream of entrepreneurship should be pursued with a sense of responsibility and an understanding of the risks involved. While it's okay to seek support when starting a business, relying solely on parents to bear the financial burden is both unfair and unsustainable. Real entrepreneurship requires using one's own abilities to earn money, build capital, and take calculated risks. It means working hard to save up the funds needed to start a business, rather than expecting parents to empty their savings for what might be a gamble. If the venture fails, the responsibility should fall on the entrepreneur, not on the parents who have already spent a lifetime providing for their children. Some children use the guise of borrowing money, but in reality, they have no intention or plan for repayment. They rely on their parents' unconditional love, knowing that their parents will not hesitate to hand over their savings if they believe it's for their child's benefit. This is a dangerous mindset, one that not only strains the family's financial stability but also exploits the parents' trust and love. The true cost of such actions extends beyond money. It affects the emotional bond between parent and child, leaving parents feeling used and taken for granted. Parents are not meant to clean up the messes left by failed ventures. They have grown old, and their retirement savings should be a safety net for their later years, not a resource for their children's risky pursuits. If a child wishes to start a business, they should approach it with maturity and self-reliance, demonstrating that they are prepared to handle both the success and the failure on their own terms. Using parents' money may provide temporary relief, but it also creates a cycle of dependency that is hard to break. Ultimately, if we truly want to honor our parents, we must take ownership of our lives and our financial responsibilities, ensuring that they do not bear the consequences of our choices. In many cultures, the notion of grandparents helping to raise their grandchildren is seen as both natural and desirable. The idea is romanticized. Young couples busy with their careers entrust their children to the loving care of their parents, who are eager to shower their grandchildren with affection. It's a picture-perfect image of family life where different generations come together to support each other. Many argue, isn't it normal for grandparents to help out with the kids? We're working hard to secure a future. Can't they lend a hand? Some even go a step further, claiming that being around grandchildren brings joy to the elderly and is good for their mental and emotional well-being. While it is true that many grandparents do enjoy spending time with their grandchildren, this perspective often overlooks the burden it places on them. Caring for young children is an exhausting task, especially for those who have already dedicated decades to raising their own children. In their later years, they deserve to rest, explore their interests, and live a life free from the responsibilities they once bore as parents. By expecting them to step in and take over child-rearing duties, we inadvertently place a heavy load on their shoulders, one that comes with both physical and financial strains. Many young couples today rely heavily on their parents for childcare, often moving back into the family home for convenience. While this may seem like an ideal solution, it often disrupts the older generation's peace and retirement plans. The grandparents find themselves thrust back into the roles they had long since put behind them, changing diapers, preparing meals, helping with schoolwork, and managing the day-to-day needs of an active household. Beyond the physical effort, there are also financial implications. Raising children comes with a host of expenses: clothing, food, education, and extracurricular activities, to name a few. When grandparents take on these responsibilities, they often dip into their savings, putting their own financial security at risk. True filial piety is not about taking advantage of parents' love and willingness to help. It's not about relying on them to shoulder the burden of raising the next generation while young couples focus solely on their careers. Real filial responsibility is about ensuring that parents can enjoy their later years in peace, free from financial and emotional strain. It means recognizing that they have already fulfilled their duties as parents and that now is their time to live life for themselves. Imagine what most parents might long for in their retirement. More than helping with childcare or doing household chores, many wish for the freedom to travel, to explore the beauty of the world, to visit places they have always dreamed of seeing. They yearn for the chance to indulge in hobbies, spend quiet moments with their friends, and savor the little joys of life without having to worry about daily necessities. The ability to relax and live a carefree life is a reward they have earned after decades of hard work and sacrifice. They should not be asked to give up this time to step back into the role of primary caregivers. Moreover, when grandparents are overburdened with child rearing, the family dynamic can suffer. The older generation may feel exhausted and unappreciated, leading to resentment that can strain relationships. Parents may inadvertently become dependent, expecting their parents to always be there to help out. The children, meanwhile, may grow up with a skewed sense of responsibility, seeing it as normal for grandparents to handle childcare while their own parents focus on other aspects of life. This cycle perpetuates a lack of independence and undermines the concept of true filial piety, which should be about honoring and respecting parents' needs and desires in their later years. The journey between parents and children is one that naturally grows more independent over time. While it's beautiful to support each other, it's crucial to recognize when support becomes a burden. Parents cannot always be there to lead the charge. Children must learn to face life's challenges independently, taking on their own responsibilities and creating a balanced family life that does not over-rely on the older generation. If we genuinely wish to practice filial piety, we must shift our mindset. Instead of thinking, "How can my parents help me?" we should ask, "How can I ensure that my parents enjoy their golden years in peace and comfort?" This might mean arranging for professional childcare, budgeting to cover all expenses for our children, and ensuring that our parents' contributions to the family are recognized and respected rather than taken for granted. Let's not forget that parents have their own dreams, aspirations, and needs. They have already given so much to ensure that we have the lives we enjoy today. Now, it is our turn to give back, not by demanding more of their time and energy, but by providing them with the freedom and resources to live as they wish. This is the essence of true filial piety, creating a family environment where love flows both ways, where parents and children support each other without exploitation or overdependence. Setting boundaries for a brighter future in every loving family, there exists a natural desire for parents to provide and protect, while children, in turn, seek guidance and support. This relationship, built on unconditional love and care, is beautiful and essential for fostering trust and security during a child's upbringing. However, as children grow into adulthood, the dynamics of this relationship must also evolve. A lack of boundaries can lead to dependency, entitlement, and strained relationships that ultimately hinder both parents' and children's happiness. This is where the importance of setting boundaries comes into play. Boundaries are not about limiting love or cutting off support, rather, they are about cultivating a respectful space that encourages independence, responsibility, and mutual growth. Love within a family is often self-sacrificing. Parents naturally want to give their children the best, even if it means sacrificing their own needs and desires. They might provide financial support, emotional backing, and shelter, even when it extends far beyond what is reasonable or sustainable. However, love without boundaries can become enabling, fostering a sense of dependency in children that prevents them from developing essential life skills. This dynamic can also cause parents to experience burnout, resentment, and financial instability. The famous writer Zhou Jing once remarked, "The sense of boundaries is the hallmark of mature love." This statement underscores the idea that true love is not about giving endlessly, but about knowing when to step back. Boundaries represent the line between helping and enabling, between support and dependency. They show respect for both the parents and the child's individuality, acknowledging that while we are connected by love, we each have our own paths to walk. When parents do not set boundaries, they inadvertently send a message that they are willing to shoulder any burden for the sake of their children's desires. This can lead to unhealthy patterns where children come to rely on their parents for everything, from financial support to emotional comfort, without ever learning to stand on their own feet. In the long run, this not only deprives the children of the opportunity to build resilience and self-sufficiency, but also leaves parents vulnerable, drained, and unable to enjoy their own lives. Learning to say no. One of the most challenging aspects of setting boundaries is saying no to financial requests, especially when they come from our children. The desire to help our kids, to see them succeed, and to protect them from life's hardships can make it extremely difficult to refuse their requests for money. However, financial boundaries are crucial for both parents and children. When parents use their life savings to fund their children's endeavors, whether it's higher education, starting a business, or simply covering living expenses, they risk their own financial security. Have they thought about what will happen if they face a medical emergency or an unexpected financial setback? Retirement savings are meant to serve as a safety net for parents in their later years, not as a pool of resources for their children's experiments and ventures. It's not just about the money, it's about teaching children the value of earning, saving, and managing their own finances. Establishing financial boundaries means setting clear limits on the kind and extent of support you are willing to provide. For example, a parent might decide to support a child's education by covering tuition fees but draw the line at financing luxury expenses, such as study abroad programs without a clear academic or career goal. It might also mean offering an initial loan for a business venture but making it clear that future investments are contingent on seeing responsible financial planning and progress. Learning to say no when necessary does not make you a bad parent, it shows that you are fostering your child's growth into a responsible adult. When children face financial challenges without the option of turning to their parents for an easy bailout, they are forced to problem solve, budget, and seek creative solutions. They learn the true value of money, the importance of hard work, and the consequences of financial mismanagement. These are invaluable life skills that will serve them throughout their lives. By setting financial boundaries, parents empower their children to take ownership of their financial futures, reducing the risk of long-term dependency that can undermine both parties' well-being. In addition to financial boundaries, emotional boundaries are equally important. Parents often serve as emotional anchors for their children, providing comfort, advice, and a sense of security. However, if this support becomes all-encompassing, it can hinder the child's emotional development. When parents constantly step in to solve problems, smooth over conflicts, or shield their children from the consequences of their actions, they inadvertently prevent them from learning how to navigate the complexities of adult life on their own. Setting emotional boundaries does not mean becoming emotionally distant or unloving. Instead, it involves recognizing when to offer support and when to step back, allowing the child to experience, process, and learn from their own challenges. For example, if an adult child is going through a difficult period at work, a parent can listen empathetically, offer advice if asked, and provide moral support. However, they should refrain from intervening directly, such as calling the child's employer to resolve issues. This sends a clear message: I am here for you, but you are responsible for managing your life. By maintaining emotional boundaries, parents help their children build resilience and self-confidence. It allows the child to understand that while they are loved and supported, they must still take responsibility for their actions and decisions. This kind of tough love, while difficult, ultimately strengthens the child's ability to face life's challenges with courage and independence. Moreover, it protects parents from becoming overly involved in their children's emotional lives, which can lead to burnout, stress, and a loss of their own personal space and identity. Implementing boundaries is easier said than done, especially when it involves loved ones. Here are some practical steps parents can take to set and maintain healthy boundaries for the future. Have honest discussions with your children about your expectations, financial situation, and the level of support you are willing to provide. Clarify that your support has limits and is not an endless resource. This sets the stage for mutual understanding and helps prevent misunderstandings later on. Establish specific guidelines regarding financial assistance. For instance, you might agree to fund part of a child's educational costs but require them to contribute by working part-time or securing scholarships. Similarly, if you lend money for a business venture, formalize it with a written agreement that outlines repayment terms and expectations. Emphasize that your goal is to help them become self-sufficient. Celebrate their achievements in managing their own finances or resolving problems independently. Reinforce the idea that learning to stand on their own is a key part of their growth. Setting boundaries means taking care of your own needs, too. Make time for your hobbies, interests, and friendships. Pursue the experiences and goals you may have set aside while raising your children. By prioritizing your well-being, you set an example of what a balanced, fulfilling life looks like. Once boundaries are set, be consistent in enforcing them. If you've agreed not to fund further business ventures after a certain point, stick to that decision even if your child begs for one last chance. Inconsistency undermines the purpose of boundaries and can create confusion and resentment. It's important to understand that boundaries do not diminish the love you have for your children. In fact, they strengthen it. When you set limits, you are not withdrawing love, you are expressing it in a way that fosters growth, respect, and mutual well-being. Boundaries show that you believe in your child's ability to navigate life independently, and they also demonstrate self-respect and the importance of preserving your own health and resources. A balanced approach to love involves offering unconditional support without sacrificing your own needs and stability. It means being a guide rather than a crutch, a mentor rather than a manager. When children encounter challenges, they will know they have a safe harbor in their parents, but they also understand that it is up to them to steer their own ship. This balance is crucial for nurturing a respectful and lasting parent-child relationship that evolves and matures over time. One of the most beautiful aspects of a family relationship is its potential to be reciprocal. In the early years, parents provide care, resources, and guidance as their children grow. As children reach adulthood, the relationship should gradually shift from one of dependence to one of mutual support. This shift allows parents to enjoy the fruits of their labor and the love they have poured into their children. Setting boundaries is not just about protecting yourself, it's also about teaching your children the joy and responsibility of giving back. Encourage them to contribute to the family, whether it's through helping with household chores, sharing in financial responsibilities, or simply being emotionally supportive. This reciprocity fosters a sense of partnership and strengthens the familial bond. Ultimately, boundaries are not walls, they are bridges. They bridge the gap between dependence and independence, between parental care and adult responsibility. They create a path for a future where parents can enjoy their retirement in peace, knowing that their children are capable of facing life's challenges with confidence and self-reliance. By setting these boundaries, you pave the way for a brighter future, one that is filled with mutual respect, love, and the freedom for both parents and children to live their best lives. In the end, loving your children deeply means preparing them for a world where they will need to walk their path independently. By setting boundaries today, you give them the strength, wisdom, and resilience to thrive in the world tomorrow. And perhaps the most important lesson of all is that boundaries are not the end of love, they are the very framework that allows love to flourish in its truest form.